Good evening everybody, it's your pal Martin Metalhead here. I hope you're going well. Now today I'm going to be talking to you about this article I've been reading in Manchester Evening News. It says, Manchester to London return train found to be more expensive than flying to Jamaica. Now for anybody outside of the UK, Europe, okay, train fares in the United Kingdom are really privatised. There are big companies like Virgin Trains that run routes like London to Manchester, and train fares are always going to be expensive. No matter if you book on the day or 2 weeks in advance, they're always going to be so much high. So my best bet if you want to travel in the United Kingdom is basically travel by bus, especially Mega Bus or National Express. If you're a person with money and you don't, and time wants to be on your side, then take the train as always. Like seriously, I've got to go to Aberdeen in a few months' time to surprise my cousin. A ticket from London to Aberdeen, they're asking me the cheapest is like 50 quid one way. Or if I was stupid to book on the day, they'd be asking 128 quid, or sometimes at least over 200 quid. It's ridiculous. I mean, that's why I prefer to sit on a bus for 13 hours just to get to Aberdeen. Last time I did that, I only paid a fiver. That was like 4 years ago. So the article says, Annie Burnham highlighted the cost of the journey when booking for Monday. Annie Burnham has highlighted the staggering cost of rail travel in the UK by pointing out it's cheaper to fly to Jamaica than to get a train from Manchester to London. In a tweet that has been liked more than 14,000 times, the Mayor of Greater Manchester shared a screenshot of a 369 quid anytime return ticket from Manchester Piccadilly to London Euston for Monday morning. Okay, stop right there. He basically is not buying tickets in advance. He's not buying tickets through a third-party website like Trainline. He's basically just going there on the day, wants a return ticket from Manchester to London. You know, like it's only a few hours by train, it's not that bad, it's a good day trip I believe, I guess. Yeah. So then, he then compared that to the cost of flying to far-flung destinations such as Jamaica, Brazil, India, and the Ivory Coast, or Côte d'Ivoire, if you're French. Mr. Burnham, a long-time campaigner for cheap rail fares, raised the issue in the week. It was announced some train tickets are set to be slashed by as much as half as the government looks to address the cost of living pressures with discounted travel in April and May. In what has been dubbed the Great British Rail Sale, the Transport Secretary Grant Shapps said more than 1 million train tickets will be reduced this spring. This discounted tickets went on sale on Tuesday with a passenger eligible to travel for less on off-peak fares between April 25th and May 27th. So you got a whole month to travel anywhere you like in Great Britain for really low cost. But in writing in the Evening Standard, Mr. Burnham has said the sale was an admission from the government that rail fares in this country are way too high. He added, for as long as train tickets cost more than plane tickets, the economics of transport in the UK will be entirely the wrong place when it comes to facing up to the climate crisis. But the truth is, it's unlikely to change anytime soon. So Andy Burnham, right, he's tweeted online, he said, return tickets from Manchester, India, 343, Jamaica, 345, Brazil, 325, Ivory Coast, 319, London Rail, 369. Okay, I'm a guy who, goes online looking for the best fare and all. I believe you could get to Jamaica for around £300 return. It just depends. You'd probably have to go to Montego Bay rather than Kingston. He doesn't really say what part of India or what part of Brazil or what part of Ivory Coast you fly to. I believe if he's looking for India, he's probably looking for maybe Mumbai or Delhi. I could tell you that in Jamaica, it's much cheaper to fly to Montego Bay than it is to fly to Kingston. So you basically, to save money, you'd fly into Montego Bay and then get a bus to Kingston for a couple of hours. As for Brazil, I think that might just be Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo. I have been in Brazil myself, but I didn't visit any major towns. I just visited Amapá state in the very north of Brazil, as I just like travelled by car to the French-Brazilian border, took a boat across, and then I travelled in a Hilux truck all the way to Macapá. Any Burnham tweet compared the cost of Manchester to London rail tickets with flights to India, Jamaica, Brazil, and the Ivory Coast. This is one of the most frustrating things about the Great British Rail Sale. It comes 1 month after the British hike in rail fares for 9 years. It also excludes the railway's most long-suffering customers, daily commuters, who do not have the luxury of being able to travel off-peak. Mr. Sharps referred to the end of the coronavirus restriction in a video to advertise the sale. We had 2 years of living life virtually. It's time to get real and visit our beautiful country. Okay, so this guy in Parliament, he's basically saying it's much cheaper to go to some far-flung destinations than it is by train to go from London to Manchester. There are a lot of people out there who they don't want to live in London, but they want to work in London because of a better pay rise. And I kind of find that a bit stupid because of the amount of money you're going to be spending yearly on train fares. I've got a co-worker who comes into the office a couple of times a week, and she lives in Brighton. Right now she's on maternity leave, and so I don't expect to see her again for another year. When I went for a job interview in Birmingham at the stupid restaurant, the Harborne Kitchen, the owner basically said that people in Birmingham like to go to London for work, and I found that hard to believe with the high cost. I mean, if you were to pay good money to live in a cheap place in Birmingham, then why would you want to go to London for work? It just seems pointless. I can understand people who want to live in Surrey or Essex or Kent or Buckinghamshire or Hakusekaja, I think, Berkshire. Yeah, those type of people, they can go to London for work, but I reckon they'll probably be spending about £800, £1,000 a year on train fare. It just seems ridiculous. But when I went to Manchester last year, I basically took a bus, megabus, London to Manchester, for about £7, and it took 6 hours just going there on the roads. Because I gotta tell you all, bus travel isn't as quick as train travel, okay? So I'm on the roads for 6 hours, just going from London to Manchester. I have to stop somewhere in the Midlands for a break, due to laws and all. And then I get to Manchester. As soon as I get to Manchester, their fares, in public transport, are just so high. Remember I did buy a day ticket for a £5 so I could travel all the way to Rockdale and back. And then I also had to buy another day ticket to go from Rockdale to Bacup and back. But the one thing that annoyed me was a single ticket in Manchester would cost £3 one way. And my brother's like, well Martin, the average person wouldn't be taking public transport or having a car. I said, but what about if you were disabled? What about if you had some vision impairment and you couldn't drive? I said, well, you'd have a friend to drive. I said, well, what about if you're an immigrant? You don't know anybody in the country. You've just relocated from halfway around the world. You got no friends, and basically all you want to do is you want to work, pay taxes, pay rent, and live a good life. Now, and another reason why I don't travel to the Caribbean, well, I have been in the Caribbean myself, but I don't go to those islands. It's because they're all overpriced. Yes, it might cost me £250 to go to Barbados, but accommodation, food, and transport in Barbados is just so expensive. I've seen people, pay £4 for a loaf of bread in Barbados. It's ridiculous. As much as I would like to go to St. Vincent for my birthday this year, I would prefer just to go to Africa, because Africa is well connected by land. It might cost me a little bit more to travel there from London, but being in one continent, I can, I could sit on a bus for 12 hours and go through 2 countries and have a joyous time, and not have to spend too much. I could stay in Airbnbs for a tenner a night. I could cross borders for a tenner as well. So I believe rail fares have to change in this country, and I kind of think maybe people need to try to find jobs that are closer to their homes instead of going long distances for work. Because I just find it dumb, right? If you live in Manchester and you want to go to Birmingham for work, that's stupid. If you live in Brighton, don't go to London for work. I know London pays more than the rest of the United Kingdom, but it's best these days to start tightening your belts. I'm Martin the Metalhead. I'm over and out.